The 100-100T Thieves players were in a panic. Their coach, Sean Garris had gone missing again. This time it was only 30 minutes before their crucial elimination match against Fnatic. "He'll show up," said Derek Ha. "He always does." At that moment, the X-Files theme song came from out of nowhere, and in a blink, appearing before them was Sean Garris. But he looked saddened. "Oh, thank God you're here," said Will Cheng. "Quiet," replied the coach. "Today I cannot help you, for I am in deep agony."
"Why?"
asked the players in unison. They had begun to try and speak in unison wherever possible to improve team chemistry. "Okay, I will come clean," said Sean Garris. "I am a seer from another universe. 9 of us were sent here to fulfill important roles on this planet to ensure its continued safety. My role was to ensure 100 Thieves did well enough in Valorant to keep the steady sales of hoodies ever flowing. However, today, one of my kind has passed from her mortal body."
"Who?"
asked the players in unison once again. "It was the Queen. Therefore, I am unable to help you during this time. My body will be here, but my mind and spirit will be elsewhere. You must forge on, alone." So today we are going to talk about Fnatic vs 100 Thieves, but this video will be a bit shorter than the others because, well, I've just had a recording nightmare. My recording kept failing. I couldn't figure out why. I eventually figured out why, but then different problems turned up as well. And so this one is going to have to be short because I need to start streaming soon as well by the time you're watching this. So let's talk about Fnatic vs 100 Thieves very quickly. We'll start with round number 3 here, okay? And so what's going to happen is Fnatic are on the attack side. They are on their bonus, and we're going to see an early flash come out here from 100 Thieves, and we're going to see a bit of a default from Fnatic, which is common on bind. The spike kind of open to coming both sides. Enzo sneaks up. We're going to get a boombot coming out here that actually can't see Enzo because of the Viper wall. And we're going to get a trade of bullets here as well. We get a Skydog in towards Shower. But to me, the big problem 100 Thieves had early on in this game is that they were playing a bit scared. They seemed like the moment got to them a bit, knowing that they would be eliminated. They're going to fish for information with the Prowler coming out here. That doesn't see anything. They're going to start sending out Sky Flashes here as Fnatic just deny them any information at all, right? So Flash comes in here, doesn't see anything, right? We're going to see a second Prowler, I think, come out down towards Long as well, doesn't see anything, right? So Fnatic are just starving 100 Thieves from information. But the big thing for me, as the Skydog comes out as well and finally does see someone in Mystic, so they're going to keep 3 people towards this side. But this is the thing, you're playing on bind, right? And on bind, you don't want to be giving up a lot of space for free, particularly on the site where you have the 3 players, right? If you're only on the site with 2 players, I can understand it more that, you know, you might need to be a bit more passive. But on this site where you've got the 3 players, you want to just fight a bit more, right? You want to fight for Showers. Or if you have 3 people on B site, you want to fight for Long or fight for Hooker, right? Wherever you've got the 3 players, you really want to be, you know, trying to stop people from just, you know, walking up, essentially. But you're going to see Fnatic end up getting very deep as we see another shallow Sky Flash come out because 100 Thieves are so worried. And really, that's kind of telling Mystic, yeah, they have no idea what's going on, because why would you flash that if you knew, right? So Mystic walks all the way up into Showers, right? Just completely free. Durka is going to walk all the way into Lamps until you see Fnatic really didn't do anything. They just walked in onto site. And I think early on, this was a big problem for 100 Thieves, was that Fnatic could just walk in onto site because, you know, 100 Thieves weren't really, you know, contesting it too much. So we end up in a 5v5 retake, and this is Fnatic's bonus round, don't forget as well. So what you're going to see here is that they start the retake, and it goes okay, right? It starts off okay. They send a ton of utility out there. The Phaeton actually does reveal Boaster in time as well. We're going to get trades back and forth as Althea gets 1 kill there. 100 Thieves start finding a few kills for them. Althea does find 1 back. We end up in a 3v3, but Althea has just thrown a nade as well, which is going to catch Bang actually in the corner and manage to get another kill. So we end up in a 3v2, but now Stella's going to find a crucial kill on Mystic, and so we end up in this 2v2. But Fnatic were playing extremely well as well, right? It wasn't just 100 Thieves making a few mistakes and maybe being a bit passive. This is a genius from Fnatic because they put their Viper wall up, as you can see, and Enzo is just spamming bullets towards the spike, right? He's just going, look at me, I'm spamming over here, you can see my bullets, I'm here, you know, oh, we're trying to kill the spike diffuser. And whilst that's all going on, Althea is walking over here, right, so that he can essentially get a free kill. Is the idea that when this wall drops, Althea will be in a position that, you know, Stella can never expect. And actually he does expect it for a brief moment, but as the wall comes down, he just takes his crosshair off. Althea does manage to get that kill, and now there's too much time where Stella cannot go and get the defuse, and the spike goes off. Quickly moving on to round number 5, though. This is after 100 Thieves took a timeout, and I think one of the things that Sean probably said was to be more aggressive. Well, when he wasn't deeply saddened, of course, by his fellow seer passing. But we're going to get a quick take from Fnatic here. It's going to be a crazy, crazy round, right? Because Fnatic come in very fast here, but actually 100 Thieves go very fast here the other way, and we get a trade of ults. We get a Brim ult on the side from 100 Thieves to try and counter, to basically try and, slow down Fnatic essentially from coming behind them, especially. We get a Fade ult in here that catches Endo. A Skydog comes out of the TP as well that catches Enzo. So he's in just a lot of trouble all of a sudden. And, well, you could see here he's stunned up, right? And he's deafened and he's decayed and he's just in a terrible spot. So 100 Thieves do manage to get that kill. But something very interesting is going to happen is as Asna takes the TP, as Fnatic actually pushed to the backside and plant there instead, Asna's going to take the TP. He's going to let out his Sky ult, right? Stella does really, really well, and noticing he's on his own, he might get pushed here. Fnatic might respond by pushing him instead, puts down these Viper mollies, understands the situation, does really well. But these 3 Sky ults, right, are going to all come down here, which means obviously that there probably isn't anyone in this position, because one of these Sky ults would have come here first, because this is probably a bit closer than, the people onto the site. So that kind of gave them a bit of information there, 100 Thieves, but actually they're all going to come towards Shout. That's going to be pretty important for when Durka takes the TP, as a Skydog comes out here towards Stellar as well. But what you're going to see is Will's going to ult back in onto the site. He is going to see Durka here, and Durka is going to TP away. Now that the TP is crucial, right? And it's crucial because no one came this way. Because now Durka has a very, very good crossfire setup that they obviously don't know exactly where that TP would have necessarily gone. They might suspect it came down here, but they don't know. And because no one came this way, right, this obviously would have been a free kill. But instead, now Durka is in a very powerful position where he can set up some crossfires with his teammates. And crucially as well, Althea now is eventually going to come towards Stella, who has just taken his eye off the ball slightly. He is going to reconsider after he gets flashed here from Mystic just there. He's going to reconsider and come back towards Althea, but Althea is further up than perhaps he suspects and gets the kill onto Stella as well. Durka gets one onto Will as well from this position as Will is trying to cross across towards Lamps. So you see that some crucial things just went in the way of Fnatic right there. Aston is going to try and find this kill on Althea, and he almost does, but he gets him just through the wall a bit, and then Althea is able to win that fight. Derek somehow manages to find this kill on Durka. I have no idea how, but then as he gets it to half, and Althea is going to just manage to find enough of the spam to be able to kill Derek and win the round for Fnatic and make it 5-0. But because I don't have much time left, we're going to finish with round number 13 here. And this is the pistol round now for Fnatic defending. They would go up 10-2 in the first half. Obviously very dominant from then. And what's going to happen is we have this nice little bait wall actually from Fnatic. As you see, Mystic is just tucked in this corner behind the wall. They actually don't destroy the chamber trap that's in here as well. And so you're going to see that Fnatic, though, just obviously were feeling much more confident to start their defense than 100 Thieves were, because you'll see that Durka is just going to feel confident in doing this, and Mystic is also going to feel comfortable to be able to push out as well. So we end up in this position where these two, clear out this whole side of B essentially, and let these players know that this is going to be an A hit instead. So these guys for Fnatic start preparing as they have this fast flank, and I said about 100 Thieves playing a bit passive here, but it's not as bad for Fnatic to do this, and actually they do end up fighting Lamps, as you'll see, but it's not as bad for Fnatic to do this because they have this very fast flank in. So as long as they can kind of just stay alive, they're hoping that these two can make the difference. Actually, it doesn't go that way at all. As 100 Thieves start coming onto the site, this nade absolutely destroys them and actually finds a kill onto Will there. But Derek goes absolutely huge in stopping this flank. He manages to get those 2 kills, but crucially the next kill, this one on Bang, is super important because the spike gets dropped in a pretty awkward position. But the thing that really is interesting for me about this is that this happened to Fnatic against Furia a couple times, where the spike got dropped in like an awkward position that Furia would have to try and, basically play a little mini game within the round of trying to get the spike back. And Fnatic in those rounds against Furia, they ended up in situations where they would be like, okay, we got one person to guard this way, we got one person to guard this way, we got one person to guard this, right? And what ended up happening is they ended up losing losing those rounds. Because essentially what would happen is they'd have one person, you know, guarding a certain way that these enemies could come from towards the spike, and that one person would get, you know, either peeked by two people, or a utility would be used on them, they die, and then they would end up in a weird situation where you don't have protocols for that situation, because it's a weird one where the spike is in a weird spot, and so they didn't know how to react, and so they ended up losing those rounds, even though they were in seemingly such a good position. The spike is down in the middle of nowhere, right? But they'd end up losing those rounds because it got weird and they didn't know what to do. But in this instance, they just leave the spike, and I think that this is often a better choice. It seems counterintuitive, but I'll explain why. Because essentially, what Derek is doing here is he's using all his utility to try and get that spike back because he thinks that Fnatic have to be there, right? As you would do. So he ends up wasting his utility, right? And he ends up wasting a lot of time. And it's always gonna take a lot of time for, you know, these players to try and retake the spike, because everyone's always gonna believe that you're just watching it, right? So if you actually aren't, if you just leave, and Boaster actually goes to the other site because he thinks Derek's gonna pick up the spike and take the TP, I think. But eventually Derek just plants in the back site here. But you see, he has no idea where these players are, right? He's looking around, and Alfia almost kills him, gets him down to 1 HP, and obviously from this position on 1 HP, it's going to be pretty tough to win this round with a frenzy, and he won't win the round, and Alfia will manage to close it out for Fnatic, and they would go on to win this game. But I thought it was quite interesting that they played the situation so differently to how they did against Furia, maybe because they ended up losing those couple rounds to Furia when this kind of situation played out. So yeah, Fnatic would go on. They played really, really well. I think if they play like this, they are genuinely maybe one of, if not the favorite, if they continue like this. This was probably the best game we've seen from a team so far. But yes, they were very, very good, and 100 Thieves, unfortunately, are out.